Charles, not only is Joe Biden too dumb to prosecute, he's got a screw loose.
More than one.
Yeah.
No, this is a fantastic poster. Great job by the art department.
Thank you.
And I just marvel at the way whoever came up with this, placed the head of I don't like to use this phrase because it's insensitive, but of the retard, on top of the torso here. I mean, it really is. People like in the mainstream press in the West, and particularly in America, they like to paint conservatives as the hard-hearted people who are trying to take advantage of the vulnerable and all that kind of stuff. But for Jill Biden to keep this kook in the position that he's in now, nearing 81, I guess he'll be 81 towards the election. When who knows how many days he has left? I mean, he certainly does not have. What is that phrase that medical people use?
Don't buy green bananas.
Well, no, they have this phrase. It's an acronym for how many.
Non-compos mentis.
Yeah, that's one, but it's a different one. Of how many of rating your life. They figure out how many years you have left, and then how, based on the various ailments you have, and then what your life will be like given the ailments. And there's some mathematical way of doing all this.
Joe gets an F.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you're looking at the guy from what you don't need to be. And I saw some earnest explanation of the Goldwater rule that. If people got into when Barry Goldwater was running. What
was that again? Some psychiatrist said he was crazy, and the Goldwater rule is that psychiatrists can't rule.
You can't do that. You can't. Although, of course, the Democrats and others are very happy to do that with Trump.
But wait, is that a political rule or a medical rule?
Should
be medical.
It's medical, but I don't know if it's the Association of Psychiatrists or doctors. But the basic idea is that you shouldn't. It is professionally irresponsible for a psychiatrist or a medical doctor to weigh in as if it's a medical opinion on a patient that he or she has not actually examined for him or herself. But, and I'm certainly about as far away from being medically competent as you can be. But even I see in just observing Joe Biden and remembering, frankly, I have the data point that I did meet him a long time ago. And when I met him, he seemed to me sharp as a tack.
You also have some firsthand experience of dealing with somebody who started out very competent, and in the last days and weeks of his life started to move from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking now, and I'm happy to talk about my dad. And, he was really up until, I would say, 2 years before the end, he was sharp as a tack. I mean, he did his own taxes. He didn't trust accountants. He managed all of his financial affairs and his medical affairs, and he was really on top of his schedule. But what you find with people like that, and Joe Biden is not like my father in this respect, is that if you're really smart and suffering from something, you can trick people. I mean, I would observe my father and think that he wasn't quite all there.
I think he's tricking himself, to be fair.
Right.
Because something similar happened with my father, where we found out, I think people know this, like 20 years ago, my father had a major medical, amazing he didn't die. And what we found out after he went into the hospital is that he'd been kind of quietly, I don't want to say secretly, but treating himself because he's a cardiologist. He was like, ooh, this is happening, I better do this. And he didn't go see another doctor. And the problem is, it's very difficult to evaluate yourself.
Right, yeah, well, especially if you're insane, which Biden is. I mean, at this stage, there's a theory. There are theories in marketing, and one is there's push marketing and pull marketing. And so pull marketing, you manipulate demand for a product to pull the product off the shelves.
Oh.
Push marketing, you're General Motors in the old days with the 95% world market share, and you just tell the fucking market what kind of car they're going to buy, and they're lucky to get whatever you sell. And I think the Democrats were until very recently under the impression that they could just push this Biden shit across the line November 5th, 2024 this year in the general election, and we just have to suck it up and take it. But the descent, the trajectory of the descent, the evident trajectory of descent in this man, this person. I mean, it's just brutal. I mean,
descent of a woman.
It's a descent of a screw loose nutcase. I mean, to her report, I think I haven't read it, but from what I can tell,
too stupid to prosecute.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not. You don't need to read 345 pages to say, I don't think we wanted this, but I do think it's fatal to the campaign, because if he's too stupid to prosecute, to be, the jury will find him too sympathetic to convict, then why does this man still have anything to do with any major decision? And as somebody was saying on one of these reels I was watching, Facebook reels, they were talking about, a comedian was up there, a stand-up comedian, saying, like, honestly, would you allow Joe Biden to be a barista at Starbucks? I mean, he certainly couldn't handle that. I don't think he'd be an effective greeter at Walmart. No. Right? And I'm not belittling those two jobs. I mean,
he would screw it up.
He would totally. I mean,
welcome to Target, Dick. Walmart.
Yeah, what kind of pizza would you like? I mean, it's just, it's pathetic at this point. And for the people, I mean, the early defense, I mean, it was the bunch of people who knew the fatal shots were coming in, because her report drafts have probably been seen by the White House before the final. And then people in the White House had to know.
Well, he knew he did the interview, and that didn't go well.
Yeah, and then the Tucker thing, Tucker Putin thing, they knew that was coming. And so what was their approach? First, to send out the Wicked Witch of the West, actually somebody who's less popular than the Wicked Witch of the West, Hillary Clinton, to get up there and say that when no one's seen the interview, that Tucker is a useful idiot. Tucker may be many things, but he's not an idiot. And, and to have a truly useless criminal, unindicted criminal, get up there and try to take down somebody who is liked, I think. Tucker Carlson is actually, one of the strengths of his tenure at the end of Fox is that the other side watched his show religiously. It wasn't just conservatives. They really liked what hearing his perspectives, because you can say what you want about him. He does get digs in. If you cross him, as Chris Wallace did, then you get the knife in the front and the back and the side and the top of the head from Tucker. But in the main, he's a decent guy. So you're not going to send Hillary Clinton out to try to trash Tucker Carlson's interview that the public hasn't yet seen, and then have that interview be the smash success that it was, and think that you've actually won. Yeah.
Well, but this is something that people have been talking about along the lines of the Tucker Putin interview, is that, you used to have Barbara
Wawa.
Yeah, Barbara Walters. She interviewed Fidel Castro. Have you ever seen these interviews, Charles?
No.
It's kind of weird. I think there's something going on between Barbara Walters and Fidel Castro. She's like, I would have to guess that they had sex.
Could be. I mean,
But the point is, she went there and no one was like, oh my God, she's a communist. She's interviewing the guy. And I mean, I don't know. We've gotten into this very kind of.
But look, this has happened. Remember, when Fortune magazine in 2000, they were trying to figure out. Normally, they do business person of the year or whatever, and they had Jack Welch featured as the businessman of the century. And the person who wrote, and I think either the person at Fortune did that, or it was maybe the editor of the Harvard Business Review did an interview of Jack Welch. And during the process of interviewing him, screwed him. And that person eventually became Jack Welch's third wife.
Ridiculous.
Susie Welch.
So that's Fannie Willis's approach.
Manager of the century.
But that's the Guardian, not the
But they're commenting on the Fortune.
Let's see what they say here.
He really was quite an annoying person.
He doesn't look like the kind of guy who would be attractive to a much younger woman, but she's like, that's a nice looking bank account you have there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he was a billionaire. There you go. See, it says this. Welch became a hero with Fortune magazine, I guess, in 1999, naming him the manager of the century.
managed to...
And look, he wrote this book, Welsh co-authored books including Jack, Straight from the Gut, or is it?
Gut.
Which he wrote with his third wife, Susie.
And then he's like, that's the wife who was the...
Straight from the gut, or is it another part of the body? But anyway.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Yeah. Quite interesting. But, I mean, so Charles, her report, I mean, it's amazing how if something happens, we got to look at this from the standpoint of how the Mueller report was taken as, oh, well, this is obviously correct and Trump is guilty and everybody in Russia did all this stuff just because Mueller said it. Now when we get somebody similarly situated making a report they don't like, oh, this is inappropriate.
Right. And I love the defenses. It was, these are gratuitous comments, and they looked up gratuitous in Wordle or wherever they found the word. That game that Kamala Harris plays every day. We're going to talk about her, but it makes a point of playing Wordle every day.
Does she?
Yes. It's some ridiculous.
How does she have time for that?
Well, I think we know the answer to that question. She does sweet fuck all. But anyway, the second defense was, well, of course, we got Latrine Jean-Pierre says, I deal with him every day. He's sharp as a tack. Oh. Somebody else says, well, he can ride a bike. And then people say, well,
he falls off the bike.
Best thing, because now there's constant juxtaposition of that thing with him falling down on the bike. But really, at this stage, you reach a point where even somebody with an IQ of 6 can look at this and say, Joe Biden is not. I mean, he's not qualified to debate Methuselah in Washington Square Park, or to tussle with him to get a share of the cardboard box to sleep on. I mean, he's just past it. As Trump said years ago, he's shat. S-H-A-T.
Well, the new thing that they're saying is, but Trump is 76. Okay, fine. I mean, I remember I met this guy when I was in LA on a shoot, and somehow his age came out. And I was like 45 at the time, and this guy was like 44. But he was like 100 pounds overweight, bald, gray. I was like, you look like you're 70 or something. You're younger than me. So I don't care if Trump is within whatever number of years of Biden. Trump has not had 2 brain surgeries. Trump did not start out as stupid as this clown. And he's just screw loose. He's like the door on a Delta jet is just no screws at all. It's just waiting.
It's still on the ground. The plane's up there and the door's down on the ground. I mean, do we need this thing? But seriously.
Bolts?
And you get to a point when you're taking so many incoming, right? I mean, name one aspect of this presidency that you can stand up and say, well, this is really, historic what he did. He's an historic
even good.
Dunce.
How about just good?
Right, or even competent. I mean, it's everything the man touches turns to shit. He gets up there and he says, I have created more jobs than any other president in the shortest period of time. Well, the Zero Hedge piece that was out today shows, which I think Zero Hedge does good work often, that all of the jobs that were created went to foreign-born workers.
Wow.
And many of those could well be illegal workers. So and the jobs were not created by any politician. Moreover, many of the increases in job counts outside government came because people pretended they were going back to a job they already had. Many of those people are not even working in the office.
Right.
So, in economics, things are tenuous. In the stock market, they're very jittery. The real estate market is trading by appointment only. It's not a deep market. And then you turn...
Clear as mud.
Exactly. Where's that coming from?
This is...
Wall Street Journal or
Forbes.
Yeah. And, you look around... some of this is actually good news for what you and I have been doing now for 7 years or however many years it is, in the sense that when we started, this was podcasting was pioneering, and you were up against the Times and the Journal and loyal readers of Time Magazine and Newsweek and Businessweek and, Fortune and all this crap. And you also had to contend with the peer-reviewed academic articles and academia of the elite universities, supposed elite universities, who would all shape opinions. And then this is a Western phrase, come to find out that social media, the local media is dead. Viewership in the established media is nearly dead, completely dead. Social media people are very now suspicious of because they see how the filters work, they see how stories get suppressed. And basically, we've been fed a load of garbage going back a long period of time. And I think the average likely voter gets that. And the profile of the average likely voter is fuck both parties. They don't like the Democratic Party, they don't like the Republican Party, they don't like the party system. They don't like the waste and the corruption. They don't like these pundits. They don't like these pompous university presidents. And most people in America don't go to these elite universities. So I think there's a big comeuppance in the works and a big misreading of the American mind right now that people in this country are pissed, really pissed. And then, whether it's in this city, I'll give you the brief capsule bum report coming up here this afternoon. I go down to my stop there, and first of all, there's this couple like kind of slithering in front of the gates, the turnstiles to come in, and they come up with a genius idea that one person will pay and go through, and then open the door for the other person to sneak in.
So they both get arrested.
Well, no, arrested. You probably get on some blue ribbon commission, and get money from Soros, and then. So I sit down, and this woman comes in at the last minute. She's of course got her Pilates mat or yoga mat or whatever, and it's kind of incongruous. She's got all this shit. She's very fit, very attractive woman, but she's got this big parcel from what's that thing? The supermarket chain that's where the
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's, yeah, big thing of that. And she's just come from yoga, but she's wolfing down popcorn on the subway, like cramming her face with popcorn, going all over the place.
Why?
I don't know. Just maybe she worked up an appetite doing yoga. So then, I
popcorn doesn't really satisfy the appetite.
I don't know. I mean, why were any of us riding the subway? It's very dangerous. And then I get off at your stop here, and somebody decides to run to make the train, and of course does the O.J. Simpson hurdle over the turnstile.
Oh.
And in both cases, at the place I left, the place I arrived, there were MTA employees asleep there, probably making $100,000 a year doing nothing. And then, as I walk up 7th Avenue to get to the apartment here, the light turns green for me to walk. And I hear a beep, 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 and a guy's hurtling down on a bicycle, beeping so that people will get out of his way as he goes through a red light.
Against the light.
I mean, and this is, I say all
and
this.
And he would think it's your fault if he hit you because didn't you hear me beeping?
I know. Well, exactly. So, but I mean, that by analogy, what I just described gives people who aren't here in New York City a sense of the mayhem that we have here in the city. But it's nowhere near as bad as it must be in the Situation Room, whatever room it is, the basement, the kitchen, wherever this guy's hanging out, where they're trying to figure out what in the fuck, as a Southern friend of mine used to say, what in the fuck are we going to do with this mess? Because, we don't have, the Democrats have this guy Phillips, I guess is the other person who's running. They've denied RFK the chance to actually participate in primaries. What are they going to do here? What they're missing is if you're going up against Trump, and we see this Conway, South Carolina rally where there were tons of people energized inside and 5 or 6 or 10 times as many people outside. You got a man who loves interacting with the crowd, who's good at interacting with the crowd, who's good under the glare of these harsh lights, and who is 4 or 5 years younger than Biden. He's not young.
He's a sharp deal maker too.
Right, and he's people like him, and increasingly people that the Democrats have shat all over, blacks, Hispanics, immigrants, etc., but expect to get their votes. These people are looking at this and say, I don't want this fucking decrepit loser to stay in there. Right? I mean, there are videos I've been watching on various where they're interviewing black people and
know.
Hispanics, and that's exactly what they're saying.
But let's go back for a second to what you were saying, Charles, about podcasting and mainstream news, because obviously there's been a huge push with the whole Hillary Clinton saying Tucker Carlson is an idiot and this and that. Speaking of idiots, this is a red idiot who's all over the place. She was like, oh, Tucker Carlson, he doesn't even have a show anymore. He's like a podcaster now. And it's like, hey, listen, Psaki, you get 1.1 million viewers. I think Tucker Carlson was over 200 million viewers in 24 hours.
Well, if you go to that, Katya Banova did a great story that I think you have up there. Then Gateway Pundit picked up on this story and quoted that woman, what's the RT woman who's Margaret Simonian or whatever her name is. But quoted her as saying that by their estimate it was 200 million, but it's tougher to figure out because there are other people streamed it and carried it, and
copy it and repaste it.
And her view was it might be closer to 1 billion people who watch that.
Because also everybody in Russia is watching this, and nobody in Russia cares what Jen Psaki says or even knows that she exists. Well, she is such an obnoxious piece of shit. I've mentioned it, I'm sure, that she went to the Connecticut Country Day School Greenwich Country Day School with Adam Sharp. Yeah. When she became the press secretary, he tweeted out some nonsense like, congratulations. I virtually guarantee that asshole has something to do with Jen Psaki's MSNBC show.
Probably. Isn't it pronounced Psaki?
Psaki, Adam Schmuck, all these people.
Yeah. But I think, honestly, not just because I've long ago abandoned reading the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, magazines, watching television, listening to most radio. I think there is a thirst out there for the long-form format, which is what Tucker did with Putin, for a format that is not infected with commercials or, financial conflicts. And a format that takes pride in doing analysis that's actually fact-based, and where the people who are talking have done their homework and have credentials. They've been doing things for many, many decades, taking good care to try to do excellent work. You don't have that. When I dealt with fake yapper Jake Tapper at CNN back in 2016, in June 2nd, 2016. It was very clear that he wasn't prepared. It was very clear that his producer basically said, she tried to ambush me in a nice way right before I went on air, being taped by Tapper. She said, you do know that we checked, because they'd asked me to send them all kinds of questions that they could send to the Clinton Foundation. And she said, you do know that we took all your questions to the Clinton Foundation, and they told us that that they've reviewed their answers with you and that you're perfectly satisfied with what they had to say. This is like 30 seconds before I'm supposed to go on air with Jake Tapper. And I looked at the producer, I said, that's total bullshit. I don't do that. I didn't do that. That never happened, and they've been lying to you. Just like...
Well, because I think somebody like that is not used to someone like you who comes and tells them the truth. These people are used to... See, what's going on in that situation, I believe, Charles, because I've never worked at a professional news network or whatever, but just from observing these people, how their careers go, what they do and say when they lose these big news jobs, these are not big, gigantic brains. These are a particular type of actor that is cast in the role of newscaster, and they are given what they're supposed to say. Very rarely are we seeing people who are actually analysts. They interview analysts, but those are cherry-picked analysts who are mostly idiots themselves. And I just don't think most of the people that we're looking at have anything about them that makes them worthwhile to the public. Somebody just selected them because of their hair, the way they look, the demographic, they're somebody's cousin or nephew or whatever. And when you see Chris Cuomo try to start his own podcast, you see the results of that. Tucker Carlson stands out from the crowd because he's able to do this without all that.
Well, I think also that the obstacle of being in the traditional big budget, shrinking but big budget media landscape is that those type of organizations must cover breaking stories, and to do that effectively, they must retain access to government figures, and if they cross them, they get cut off the list. And so that's the leverage that whether it's the Trump administration or the Biden administration or certainly Obama and Clinton administrations, that's the leverage they have. They could say to a pesky person like Simon Ateba, we're going to cut your credentials. You're supposed to cover the White House. It's kind of tough to do that if we won't give you a press pass. Fuck you, yes. We don't like your questions.
He had the best tweet this morning.
What did he say?
He's sitting outside a flower shop, and he says that he's going to ask KJP to be his Valentine.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I was thinking, that's actually a very funny idea. And if she weren't a horrendous bitch, that might be a viable couple. Although I think she is a lesbian and he's not a woman. Where is this? Here he is. This is for Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, wondering if you could be my Valentine today to finally make peace. Simon Ateba is one of these guys who is just so super polite and friendly. It makes you reevaluate, or me at least, I got to be more polite. Even with somebody that he hates, he's making a funny joke that even down to the root of it, that's actually nice if he's going to give her a flower on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, she's not with anybody, Maybe she'll reconsider. Who knows? Yeah. But she's
but
really.
If they could get married, that would be funny.
That would be, married with no prospect of children, but could be that fault. But I think that the Biden presidency, when historians look back on what's left of the Biden presidency, if nothing else, he became deader than a lame duck on Thursday. I mean, he is just you cannot. There's no amount of lipstick will cover this pig at this point. There's just you can't explain away.
No, lipstick on a pig never ever works. What you really want to do is roll a turd in glitter. But Charles, I've kept my eyes off the clock and we're out of time. Okay. We're going to make our way over to the sponsor exclusive segment where people who sponsor the show can join us for some more video. We've had a troll in the comments who incorrectly says Tucker doesn't beg subscribers for money. And obviously, advertising a subscription video service is not begging. Laying in the street with a cup is begging. Idiots who use fake names to make comments on YouTube videos are far more pathetic than those who lay in the street begging for money. But if you're interested in getting to the bottom of things and seeing insights and opinions that would be censored if they were placed on YouTube, or a total waste of my time if they were placed on Rumble, which is undoubtedly going to turn into YouTube any moment it becomes convenient for them, if people want to support this type of independent production, please become a sponsor on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. All the budget is on the screen. It's not going towards HVAC. But thank you for tuning in, everyone, except for that